Hey guys, it's Erica, and I got my learner's permit. So if you're interested in learning about that stuff, keep watching. So I'm gonna break this video into 3 parts. First, I'm gonna give you a little bit of background information on the learner's permit, what it actually is, how to be eligible, all that administrative stuff. And then I'm gonna talk about study tips, and then I'll get to my own experience and how I kind of took the test. So without further ado, let's do it. So to begin with, in Tennessee, if you want a learner's permit, you have to be 15 years of age or older. And this can change depending on a couple of factors. I can't say that this will apply to you if you live in another state because there's different rules throughout the US. But at least in Tennessee, the learner's permit age is 15. And also, as someone with a learner's permit, you can drive between certain hours of the day. I believe you can't drive at night. And then you have to drive with one adult and no one else. And then at 16, you can get a restricted driver's license, and then when you're 17 you can apply for an unrestricted license, and then I believe when you're 18 you can get the full driver's license. But today I'm just going to be talking about the permit test because obviously that's the only thing I've had experience with since I am 15. So like one of my biggest tips is read over all of the documents that you need to apply for the learner's permit, because we went to the DMV and then we stood on this long line and then a lady checked us in to get our ticket number, and if you didn't have the correct documents you would have to go home and get the documents you needed and come back and wait on the longer line, etc. So basically have all of the documents you need because you do not want to have to wait on that line twice. But all of that can be found on the websites linked below. So if you read over all of that stuff, you'll be fine. And also a piece of basic information for the permit test in Tennessee, at least, there are 30 questions and you have to get at least 80% on the test to pass. And so if you do the math, that means you can miss up to 6 questions and still pass, but if you miss like 7, you fail and you'll have to retake the test. And of the 30 questions, they are multiple choice with 3 answers, A, B, and C. So anyways, I think that's all I have to say about general information. And obviously, if you want to learn more, every little detail is outlined in the driver's manual. Now I'm going to move on to section 2, how to pass on the first time and study tips. Firstly, I would say read the manual. The manual itself is like 120-ish pages, so it's like shorter than a book. So if you put that into perspective, like the manual isn't really that long, but obviously it's not necessarily the most exciting topic of interest. So for anyone who just wants like the easiest strategy on how to pass the test, I would say you only need to read section B. Section B is all of the regulations and the rules of the road. And then of section B, there are different subsections which outline different things like road safety, how to drive in hazardous weather, alcohol and drugs, road signs, all of the little details of driving. And so I would say the most important section is the drug and alcohol section because that consists of 25% of the test. Now in Tennessee, you can miss some of those questions and you won't fail as long as you get an 80% on the test. But there are some states where if you miss any of those questions, you automatically fail because it's so important to know that stuff. And each section is like less than 10 pages, so it really isn't that much of a read. So yeah, I'd highly recommend read over the drug and alcohol section, like give it a thorough read, because I promise you there are going to be lots of questions about like what is a safe blood alcohol concentration level to have when you're driving. I would also say read through the road signs section because there's a good amount of those kinds of questions on the test. And aside from that, I would say you can probably skim. So I would say if you're not going to read the manual that thoroughly, you can just look at the bolded parts and make sure to look at all the pictures and see like what they diagram. And honestly, if you do all that, you'll be fine. Because at least for me, I knew a lot of the material that was on the test, but obviously there's gonna be stuff that's on the test that you're not gonna know. And it's just gonna be a thing that happens if you don't have a photographic memory and like memorize every single little piece of information that is on every single page of the manual. Because trust me, I read it pretty thoroughly and there were plenty of questions that were like, wait, I don't remember reading this. But like, it was fine because most of it is just common sense, and like, if it sounds like the right answer, it's probably the right answer. So yeah, I would say go with your gut, go with your common sense, and you should pass the test. I would also say take a couple practice tests, and there's a good website that I'll link down below that has tons of them. I personally probably spent like 2 to 3 hours taking practice tests. Super extra. Because I don't think half of the questions I saw on the real driver's test I studied on the practice test. So, I mean, I wouldn't get carried away with those, but I would definitely say that if you have some extra time, if you want to just make sure that you know what you're doing, take 1 or 2 practice tests. But obviously you don't have to. There are plenty of people who don't do the practice tests who do pass the test the first time. It's not really that big of a deal, but yeah. And lastly, before I get to my experience with taking the test, here are a couple of things that helped me when I was like studying for the stuff. First, red lights always mean stop. Also, always prepare to yield. And that's really helpful for questions that are like, what do you do if you see a green arrow? And the choices are like, you have right of way, you can turn, or you must be prepared to yield. Like 99% of the time, the yield option is gonna be the correct one, because you just, as a driver, you have to always be prepared to yield the right of way. And a little mnemonic I thought of for the hand signals is Ralph likes spaghetti. It's super random. So basically, if you have your arm up like this, that means you want to turn right, as in Ralph. If you have it horizontally, you want to turn left, as in likes. And then if you want to turn it down, if you want to stop, you put your hand down, and that means stop. So Ralph likes spaghetti is basically how I remembered those. And yeah, it may or may not appear on your driver's test, but it's a super easy thing to remember, and it's a question, so might as well learn it. And if you want like a study schedule, day 1 I read administrative stuff. Day 2 was reading the whole manual. But if you're not going to be super in depth, you can totally knock it out in less than an hour. And then day 3, you can take like a practice test or something, and like you can even go to the DMV on day 3 and take the test if you feel confident enough. Then yeah, so it's honestly a quick process. So I would recommend doing it in the summer. If you have like a week of downtime, you can just knock that out. So now I'm gonna move on to section 3 of the video, which is my own experience at the DMV. When I got there, it was like a long line of people, and then you'd wait on that line, and then when you got to the front, you'd go to the check-in counter and you'd get a ticket number. And for those of you who've been to the DMV, you know what I'm talking about. But for those who are totally new and have never known nothing about it, this may interest you. But basically, you're gonna wait online, then you're gonna go and get your ticket number. So for me, I was K45, and that meant I was taking the knowledge test, and then I had 45, so I was the 45th person in the queue. And when I had gotten there, I think they were up to number 20. And so if you're that far apart, it's gonna be a long wait, not gonna lie. So also tips, bring gum or something, because I'm pretty sure food is not allowed in the DMV. And also eat before you go in. Like right before you go in, eat a snack or eat breakfast or eat lunch or whatever. But like, don't be the person who skipped breakfast to go to the DMV and then waits 5 hours and hasn't had a meal all day. Also, bring a book or bring your phone, bring a phone charger, because you're gonna be waiting for hours. And trust me, there is nothing to do in the DMV. So after about 3 hours of waiting, my number finally got called, and I went over to a counter, and a guy checked me in, and he took all my documents, and then I signed something for the signature on my learner's permit, and then I took my picture. Now, another tip. Do not look like a crappy potato. If you don't want people to see a crappy potato on your learner's permit. I don't know, I looked like crap that day. I had my hair in a ponytail like right here, so I looked bald, and it was not a good look. It was not a good look. But also, like, it's totally fine if you don't care about your driver's license photo, because it really doesn't matter, but it was really just me being like really stupid and then regretting my life decisions. But yeah, so after I got my picture taken, I went back into a room and they had the test lined up for me, and I didn't realize this until I was like 6 or 7 questions in, but you cannot go back to your answers. So don't think, oh, I can just click whatever I think is right and then go back and check my work. That is incorrect, and you will not be able to do that. But anyways, when you're done, you come out and you tell the person who checked you in that you finished the test, and then you wait and see if you failed or passed. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Also, I only got to question 26, and I realized now that was because I only missed 2 questions, and you can miss up to 6, and therefore it didn't matter if I got the correct answer for the last 4 questions, because it would either be like I got 6 wrong and still passed, or I got like less than 6 wrong and I still passed, if that makes sense. So I think if you finish the test having only answered 28 questions, or like 26 or 24, etc., then you automatically know you passed. But also, guys, if you don't pass on the first time, that is a-okay. That is fine. It does not matter at all. There are no repercussions for failing it. It's not going to be counted against you or in any way. So anyways, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. As I said before, I will leave all of the links I used down below in the description bar so that you can easily find them. And yeah, so hopefully you found that helpful, and if you did, please leave a like on the video. It really helps me so that other people can see this video and then they can use it as a resource. Also, subscribe if you're not already, and turn on the notification bell so you're notified when I post new videos. So good luck on your permit test, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!